Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Modern and Modest. It is indeed a pleasure to catch up yet again once a week on a Monday morning with you. And today we introduce you Rishabh Susankar, a young, energetic entrepreneur based here in Durban, who's actually taken a hobby and turned it into a rather successful business. Well, thank you, Rishabh, for joining us, and it's such a pleasure to have someone like you on our show. That could tell us more about how this started out for you. Tell us about this hobby and what are we going to be chatting about today?
Hi Sheena, thank you for having me on the show. I guess the journey of Inca has been something that I've been very, very close to, intimately connected to. And to tell you a bit about myself, as you introduced me, my name is Rishabh. I have been told I'm a bit of a dreamer.
Okay.
I've been introduced as Willy Wonka, which I find very flattering. And I think, for me, the important thing was, I've always looked at experiences. What do people remember when they meet you, or they taste something or find something for the first time? And I wanted Inca to be about that. The experience.
So we mentioned the brand Inca and we spoke about Willy Wonka, and if we put that together, that says chocolate to me. So we're going to be chatting about your hobby and being a chocolatier. So just give us a bit of insight on how this started out. How did Inca start out? What is it that you actually do? Just fill us in more about that.
Okay. So our full name is Inca Premium Cocoa Company. And our journey, as you know, chocolate and romance often go very well together. And it was a few years ago, 4 years ago, my partner at the time loved hot chocolate. She didn't drink tea and coffee, and we would often go out to pretty nice places, and she'd often not be happy with hot chocolate. She found it was too sweet or too milky or too watery. And I drink coffee, and you generally get a good cup of coffee. There's always there's a standard in coffee.
Yeah.
Shops can tell you where the beans are from. They can tell you how the beans are blended. They can tell you what flavors to look for in a cup. But with chocolate, it was whatever came in the tin is what they sell. And so after listening to her, because she complained rather well,
okay,
actually what she was saying made sense. And I researched what a hot chocolate was, and I found that all over the world it's different. In Italy, it's thick, and you dunk your toast in it, and it's served in the morning. In France, you actually get a bowl of hot chocolate. In Spain, you dunk churros in it. Again, thick, dark chocolate. In Mexico, it's spices and flavors of chili and pepper in the drink. And what we had here in South Africa was sort of the American version. It was highly processed, with little chocolate value.
So it wasn't actually a hobby that transformed into a business. It was very much a need. There was a need for a good cup of hot chocolate, and that's what inspired you to come up with developing your own type of cocoa.
Yeah.
So take us through that journey with cocoa. Fair enough, we've researched and you've given us some information on how hot chocolate is seen in other parts of the world and how we followed the typical American way of hot chocolate. But what do you think are the essentials of making the perfect cup of hot chocolate? What do you understand as the perfect type of cocoa? Tell us more about that. What type of taste was she looking for, and how did you manage to fix that recipe?
So the very stark comparison was chocolate as a food, as a solid, versus chocolate as a drink.
Okay.
And the flavors of chocolate, in a bar, it's so full, it's wholesome, it's milky but it's also very indulgent, and it's dark flavors. And when you eat it, there's no, I would say, it doesn't feel diluted or watered down. And so that's what we were looking for, to take that experience of chocolate in a bar and put it into a cup. And I think that's what she was looking for as well. And so it was quite a journey, because I didn't know where to start. But I know that in looking for something for her, I didn't find anything that really suited what she was looking for. So how it started was I started contacting just companies in chocolate. What sort of cocoa powders do they have, or what sort of chocolate drinks do they have?
Yes.
And everybody had a powdered version, very sweet, lots of sugar. Some of them had, put hazelnut or vanilla in it to give it a little bit more flavor. But I was looking just for chocolate. So in looking for it, and I found that there was an opportunity, there was a gap in the market because, in a way, the market lacked creativity.
Absolutely.
So how it started was just buying half a kg of cocoa powder
And taking it from there.
and taking it from there.
So my next question, you mentioned that you would go and have a cup of coffee, and with coffee it's easy. People can tell you where the beans are from, they'd be able to communicate the strengths and so forth, but we don't get that variant available with hot chocolate. But are you a fan of hot chocolate, or do you find that you tend to lean more towards a good cup of coffee?
Funny that you asked that, because I'm not actually crazy about chocolate. It sounds funny. It's ironic, I guess. But I know what I was looking for in terms of taste.
Would you think that your preference to coffee sort of influenced the end result of your cocoa? So that, from my understanding, that your hot chocolate or your chocolate paste differ in the sense that it's more of a healthy option and it's not overwhelming with where it's very sweet. So would you think that you having a preference to coffee is generally more of a bitter taste? Do you think that had anything to do with how you came up with your formula?
Yes, absolutely. I think we've become conditioned to what we imagine chocolate to be. In reality, chocolate is not sweet. It's just as bitter as coffee, if not even more bitter.
Yes.
And it's all the sugar and sort of the milk additives that make it creamy and sweet to us. So in drinking coffee and enjoying in some way the bitterness of it, I learned about the bitterness in chocolate, and that to me was lacking in the drink, in a traditional hot chocolate.
Okay, let's chat about you decided to start out with getting the cocoa. How did you come up with a recipe? How many trials were there before you got the ideal recipe together?
It was countless hours,
Okay.
thousands of hours, I would imagine. So I had a full-time job, so this was something that I used to do after hours, and there was no recipe to follow. As much as I had, read up as much as I could about truffles and about chocolate making, this was my own recipe, my own process, something that I had to create. In terms of number of trials, I think we're on version 70 or 80. I used to, I started in my mom's kitchen on a little camping stove, gas stove, camping stove, and while everyone was asleep, I used to be in the kitchen, mixing and pottering around, trying to find something that made sense to me. And I used to upset my family because everyone was sleeping. Like, go to sleep. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's cocoa? Nobody even knows what cocoa is.
Okay. So how long did it take you, time-wise, to perfect the formula to get the ideal recipe?
So we're always working on our formulation, or it's something that there's always an improvement that can be made. But in the form that it's in now, it took 1.5 years. So it was, I worked with sugar initially because that's the traditional sweetener. I found that I didn't like the flavor profile and the balance, and then we worked with powdered honey, drum dried honey, or spray dried honey. We worked with xylitol. We worked with molasses, even, just to explore what's possible. What are the flavors that these sweeteners bring out in the chocolate?
So at the time that you decided to put the perfect cup of hot chocolate or present the perfect cup of hot chocolate to your partner, at the beginning, did you ever foresee it turn into a business? Was it something that you were just doing for her, or just because it was fun in the kitchen?
So I think, initially it was me escaping. It was almost an adventure, exploring what's possible. I've always enjoyed working in the kitchen and the infinite possibilities. Yes, there is a recipe book that you can follow, but in the kitchen you can do whatever you want. You're responsible for the end result,
Okay.
but there's no limitation. Whatever you can imagine, you can create. And it wasn't initially going to be business. It was just something. But I tried it out on all my family members. They didn't have a choice. Every single event, every single birthday party, whatever it was, I was carrying around my little stove and my
Okay.
can and my whisk,
Right.
and I was making it for them. Taste this. What do you think of that? Tell me.
Okay.
And eventually, I realized that we've got something good here that it, in many ways, it doesn't exist. Or if it does, it's people have tasted it in their travels. And so that's when I realized that there was an opportunity to turn it into a business.
Also, fortunately, you were very aggressive in getting your family members to trial and taste, and they've given you the support to move forward. But for us, I think it's great to have someone, I don't know whether we should call you a chocolate here, what title should we give you for coming up with this cocoa, but generally we find that other regions come up with these type of unusual tasters, or something that you'd invent or create before Durban actually gets it. So it makes us quite proud to know that we've got an entrepreneur that just started out being adventurous, and it's something that's actually exclusive to Durban for now. I'm not sure if you've stepped out to other regions, but I think that's a nice start for us here in Durban. We're going to catch a quick ad break, and when back, I'd like to discuss more about the texture of your product and what else have you created since. Take a quick ad break, and when back, we'll be chatting more to Rishabh Susan. Welcome back to Modern and Modest, and with me today we have Rishabh Susankar, and we're shooting from the popular Mark Gold that's been in Durban forever. Rishabh, maybe you can help us and tell us how long has Mark Gold been here for?
Yeah. So I'm the manager at Mark Gold, at the coffee shop, and I've been here almost a year and a half now. But the shop itself has been around for 20 years.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that you're the manager of the store, because my next question to you was, you've created this product and it stemmed out as just getting the perfect cup of hot chocolate. And with the support of your family, you decided that, hey, you've got a great product and you want to take it out and turn it into a business. So was Mark Gold one of your first coffee shops that you approached into stocking your brand?
Yes. So almost transporting myself back into the moment when I had done my research in terms of who are the top coffee shops, which are the popular places that have a credible name, and Mark Gold came up, very very much at the top, and it is a place that I had never been to as a customer, but I knew that I wanted Inca, our product to be in here.
Okay.
So it was a case of walking up to the door, pressing the buzzer with my little cooler box in my hand and my apron on, and saying, "Hey guys, I'd like to do a taster with you." And often that's how it was. You don't get the opportunity to have an appointment with somebody. You literally have to just knock on the door. But they were actually one of our first customers, and that whole experience of getting your first customer is very daunting.
I'm sure, because I would presume that coffee shops would want to sort of invest in a brand or affiliate themselves with a brand that's well known, because they've got to make the perfect cup of hot chocolate to please their clients, and I'm not sure many people would want to chance a newcomer in the market. So how was that for you? Were you apprehensive? How challenging was that for you?
That was very challenging. A lot of the times, the entire tasting would be good and the product would be good, and the manager or the owner of the shop that you're talking to would be happy with that. But then they ask you, who else are you stocking? And well, really, we're a new business. We're not stocking anybody. Okay. And often that would break the deal, because nobody wants to be the guinea pig.
Sure.
But we're very fortunate in our journey that people believed in me and believed in the product and gave us an opportunity, to put our foot in the door.
Okay. So tell me, why do you think people believe in your product? What's so unique about your product? Because that takes quite a bit to get these people to have that amount of confidence in you or your product, because they're going to be serving it now to their clients.
So, in a weird way, the tie makes people.
Okay.
I learned that if you wear a tie, people inherently take you more seriously.
So very much your presentation.
Presentation.
Okay.
And then it was, I had researched the product and I had made it with my own hands, and I had spent hours countless hours, behind the scenes putting it together. So I was able to answer all of the questions that they had. And in that process, you're able to build rapport and build credibility with them. So it was very much the old-fashioned way of actually sitting with people, meeting them, talking to them, and that's, I guess, they believe in you first.
So it's pretty much forming a relationship with your clients. But tell us more about your product. What's so unique? How does it differentiate from the usual cocoa powder or the hot chocolates that your typical coffee shop would serve?
So that is, the crux of our product. From the very formulation, we use a Dutch processed cocoa. The difference with that is that the cocoa has been alkalized, so the flavor profile is more mellow. There's more woody, earthy flavors that suit the South African palate, because as much as we like flavors, we don't like very strong flavors, like the Portuguese or the Spanish do.
Okay.
We then use honey to sweeten our product, and the honey we source from the Midlands. It's honey in syrup form, and that was quite a challenge to work with, because it meant that our product was no longer a traditional powder, but actually wet, so it was a paste. We use traditionally cocoa has a velvety texture.
All right.
So when you asked me earlier about what's the perfect cup of hot chocolate, it needs to fill your mouth in terms of the feeling, texture, the feel, or the taste, and so it's dark chocolate flavored. The honey balances out the bitterness of cocoa without making it too sweet.
Okay.
And it's got texture, it's got body, and it's a pleasant aftertaste as well. So it's not a case of
So it's basically not an overpowering cup of hot chocolate, where it's not too sweet and it's still giving you that velvety, luxurious feel, because that's what I presume you would want your perfect cup of hot chocolate to be.
correct. And then of course, balance. Balance was the word that we always wanted to get people to say about the product. So often we used to do tasters, and then we'd give them a little questionnaire to answer. And it was just 5 or 6 questions, and it had a smiley face or a sad face, and just, what do you think? And in doing that, we were able to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, we need to reduce the sweetness, or we need to increase the chocolatiness. Or it was a lot of back and forth, but I think we have a product now that appeals to quite a broad market.
So Rishav, your hot chocolate isn't the traditional powder, and when we go to any of your coffee shops, you find that they would either make you a hot or a cold drink using a powder or a syrup. How did you find they received using a paste? Because it's obviously pretty new. Was that received very well? Or were they finding it challenging to whip up a good cup of hot chocolate?
Yes, it was challenging. It was actually a hurdle that I didn't anticipate to be as difficult to climb over as it was. The very important thing to consider is that coffee is made very quickly.
So Rishabh, how long has the brand been out now, as far as the business goes? How long has the brand been established for? And the name Inca, where did that stem from?
So we're into our 3rd year now.
Okay.
2016 was when we started.
Right.
And the name Inca comes from the ancient South American, Central American tribe, the Inca tribe.
Okay.
And the story of chocolate is quite a fascinating one. So the Incas used to take the cocoa bean, which is the seed of a fruit, and they would dry it in the sun and pound it into a paste and mix it with water and maize and spices and serve a drink called chocolate.
Okay.
So this drink was served for important events, from a rite of passage from boyhood into manhood, to consummating marriage and to prepare their warriors for battle.
Okay.
And it was part of their culture, and it was not something that was taken lightly. It was, at one point they even used the cocoa bean as a form of currency.
Wow. Okay.
And the word cacao is translated as food of the gods.
Okay.
So, it was very special to their culture. So when according to the history of chocolate, when the Spanish invaded and discovered South America, they took this back as a spoils of war, because it was something that they had never seen before. So the drink, they found that if they gave it to one of their soldiers, it could march an entire day without stopping to rest or eat.
Okay.
So essentially, the world's first energy drink.
So seeing that you're so on top of research, is chocolate good for you or is it bad for you from a health perspective? I'm sure you've researched into that. Some people have a mindset that chocolate's not good for me, and yet you hear that chocolate's actually great for you because of all the properties that it has. What's your take on that?
Okay, so I guess moderation is the first thing. We don't make any claims with our products, but we know from research and statistics that chocolate is not only does it have a psychological effect, it also has a physical effect. So it releases endorphins, which makes you feel happier, which is why when people are depressed, they eat chocolate, they feel better.
Sure.
It also is rich in antioxidants. We're talking about cocoa in its raw form. It's rich in antioxidants, and it's actually been found that it's a higher concentration than green tea and wine. We also worked on the idea that chocolate doesn't have to be unhealthy. A lot of the time we say, if you have chocolate, it's a moment on your lips and a lifetime on your hips. And that's what I grew up knowing, But it doesn't have to be that way. Now we know about raw cacao. We know about in smoothies. It's a superfood, and the French used to use. So when the Spanish took chocolate to Europe, it was served to Spanish aristocrats and royalty as a drink, a very acquired taste. And then the French used to use it to treat dementia and liver fatigue.
Okay, Rishabh, we're going to take an ad break, and when back you can give us more of the health benefits on hot chocolate, and we'd like to know how many more other product lines you've now developed. We'll break for an ad, and then when back we'll be chatting more to Rishabh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Modern and Modest. And with me today we have Rishabh Sursankar, who's developed the perfect cup of hot chocolate. So Rishabh, we chatted about the health benefits of chocolate and the misconception where some of us believe that chocolate is not good for you, or I'm going to gain that amount of weight if I have to indulge in chocolate. But you being the researcher, tell us more about the health benefits of chocolate.
So the most important thing, I guess, is for people to read the label on what they consume. Most of the time, what we know as chocolate is very high in sugar. It's often got hydrogenated palm oil or vegetable fat in it, and those are the things that are, we can call them, unhealthy. So if you're looking at dark chocolate with a much higher cocoa content, a lower percentage of sugar, you also get diabetic friendly chocolate, and you look for chocolates that have cocoa butter in it, and also raw or natural, all great things to look for. In terms of of our product, we wanted to create first something that had the taste profile, and had the flavor and the feel, and we actually kind of got a little bit lucky with the health aspect of our product, because to me, honey was used not so much for the health, but more for the flavor.
Okay.
And then after we had created this product, then there was the change in the sugar industry and the sugar taxes, and we've actually been, blessed to avoid all of that because of how we make our product.
Okay. So, is there anything else you've created apart from your chocolate paste? Have you created any more product lines to go with Inca?
Yeah, so we have a chocolate sauce,
All right.
which is very much similar to the paste, but liquid, which makes it easier to work with in terms of dissolving it, and also easier to use as a chocolate sauce on ice cream, or for example.
So, would you say that your chocolate sauce could be used as a chocolate spread?
Yeah, so we actually ask for our customers to use our paste as a spread.
Okay.
It is quite soft in texture. It's also quite smooth. So it's something that you can make a variety of or recipes with. I use it in many different ways.
Okay. My question to you was, many of our viewers, I'm sure many of our viewers are bakers. I think all both males and females love baking. Can you incorporate your chocolate paste or your chocolate sauce in perhaps baking a chocolate cake or creating a dessert and using your chocolate sauce as a topping?
Yes, you can. You can make a wonderful ganache with it. You can use it for various aspects where you want chocolate. Whether it's in a mixture or in the icing or as a topping. We want people to get as creative with it as possible. The way that I see it is, wherever you imagine you can use chocolate, you can use Inca paste.
Okay. Rishabh, have you ever considered adding nutty flavors to your chocolate? You get many variants, and you get certain chocolate spreads that would add hazelnut to it. Is that something you've considered adding to create that variant for Inca?
Yeah, so when we used to do markets and events, we would do infusions with fresh fruit. And for me, it was always about looking at it must be natural and wholesome. So we'd use orange, where we'd use orange rind and orange pulp, and then we'd leave it to brew overnight and then filter it out. So we'd have the flavor without the pulp or the pulp. We've done that with chili as well. Chili and chocolate always go well together. So we use fresh red and green chilies, which we brew in the cocoa and then filter out. And again, you get sort of the deep sort of flavor of chili. It's a flavor enhancer, and also a little bit of burn on your throat. Very warming, especially in winter. In the paste form, we have only the original flavor,
chocolate
if you can call it that.
Okay.
But yes, flavors are very important, and we are working on those.
Okay. So to perfect the formula, I presume you've worked independently, and that's how it started out for you. But now that the brand has grown, do you still find you've got to do it independently, having a full-time job, or do you now have assistance to be able to create the volume that you require?
So initially, yes, when you start a business, you do everything yourself, and I think it's an important process, because you need to keep your finger on the pulse and know what's going on. But also, if you hold on to that for too long, then your business suffers because it doesn't grow, as it can.
Sure.
So yes, we've grown enough to have. We don't operate every day, but we have a part-time staff member that comes in, and she's very involved in how to make the product and the process behind putting it together.
Okay, so your product is basically prepared fresh on order. Do you prepare in bulk and keep it ready, or do clients have to place an order in order for you to create a fresh batch?
So yes, that's one of the key things about our product, is that we do make it fresh. It is prepared on order. We don't have any preservatives in it. While we're on that topic, there's no gluten, there's no refined sugar in it, and we want our customers to enjoy it as fresh as possible. So we work on a 3 to 4 day with time with them, a lead time with them, once they place the order in order to and get delivery.
Okay. And not having to add all the unnecessary preservatives, what would you say the shelf life of your product is?
So we ask for it to be refrigerated, and we state a 4-month shelf life on the product. But in most cases, it doesn't last a week because people enjoy it so much. They use it, to make drinks, and on a lazy day, they eat it straight out of the jar.
Okay. Rishabh, is your product only exclusive to Durban, or have you managed to get your brand to expand to other regions of the country?
So we have worked with brands in Johannesburg, and it has been a very positive experience. But right now we're only in Durban. I guess it's also important to remember when it's a new product, you have to be in the public space. So the markets, the morning markets, the evening markets, that's how you get exposure, in a brand. And you get people to see it and recognize it, and that's when you get the backing of the restaurants and the coffee shops.
So let's speak about your product being unique. We know that you look at sourcing high-end product ingredients, and that's what makes your product unique. It's unusual. But how do you find the costing? Does the costing fit well in comparison to the regular hot chocolate that's available? Surely cost is something you would have had to consider. So what does a tub like this cost?
Okay, so the costing is a vital factor in any business, and I guess I've been fortunate in that my dad owns a business, and when I was in school and my university holidays, I used to work there.
Okay.
And so in terms of being an entrepreneur, there was a lot of the basics that was instilled in me by him.
Okay.
And costing is something that you can very easily get caught out in, because it's not just the cost of the raw materials or the ingredients. It's also your from labels to packaging to your time to potential delivery costs. So with the model that we used, or that I used, it was low volume because I knew it was a niche product, and higher margin.
Okay.
And that's been vital for us to make it as a business, because there's many business models that a businessman can use. We went with that one, and it's worked well for us.
Okay, so Rishabh, coming back to your unique chocolate paste or your hot chocolate, with regards to pricing and costing, something that you do independently, and it's you source high-end products. How would you say the cost of a tub or a kg of your cocoa or hot chocolate, does it fit well with what's currently available? Would you say it's within that price range, or is it much higher?
So, yeah, it's definitely much higher. We average a kg of our cocoa paste is per kilogram is 3 times more expensive than the average hot chocolate.
Okay.
But the focus for us is on a premium product. We can tell you about our ingredients. We can tell you exactly where they source from, and it was about providing a wholesome experience. So price, as funny as it sounds, was not really a factor in creating the product.
Okay.
It's more about the quality of it, and we also knew that if we create a really good product, then we'll be able to partner with the right customers who will be willing to stock our product and to give us a chance and give us an opportunity.
Okay. So Rishabh, are you looking at developing more products? You had mentioned something about creating something that's vegan friendly. Is that something that you are considering?
Yes, there's definitely a trend, across the world, to be more conscious about what we consume and what effect that has on the environment and the planet as a whole. So yes, we're obviously, from our formulation using honey. Strict vegans don't consume honey.
Yeah.
But we have done some trials, and I think we're pretty close to a vegan-friendly product.
Okay, Rishabh, we're going to be taking an ad break, but when back, I'd like for you to perhaps demo on how we should make the perfect cup of hot chocolate. So we'll break for an ad break. Please stay tuned and we can get Rishabh to demo the perfect cup of hot chocolate. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Modern and Modest. And here we are with Rishabh Susankar, that's taken a hobby or perhaps getting the perfect cup of hot chocolate and turned it into a business successfully, where he's created a chocolate paste as well as a chocolate syrup? Sauce, a chocolate sauce. So Rishabh, you've given us quite a bit of insight and in-depth knowledge of chocolate itself and what inspired you to come up with your perfect cup of hot chocolate. But throughout that journey, could you share with our viewers what were the challenges creating the perfect paste and even getting it out to the public to take to a pasty hot chocolate as opposed to a powdery cocoa powder or hot chocolate?
So yeah, there were many challenges. One being the fact that we weren't making a sweet chocolate drink. A lot of people were not sure, how to receive it, because in our heads we recognize chocolate as being sweet. Also, it's something completely different. We focus purely on cocoa. We didn't add any coffee into it or anything that people recognize.
Okay.
Some of the challenges were being a new business with a new product. To find our first customer was a challenge. To train baristas into using a paste as opposed to working with syrups or powders also took a lot of time, and we often had to redo our trainings, and it was quite intensive. I think also the challenge was that we're focused on only one product. Often businesses or new businesses try and offer a basket of goods, and we found that we wanted to specialize and perfect something before we moved on to the rest.
Let's chat about the menu offering. From my understanding, quite a few coffee shops now stock your brand and they're offering the perfect cup of hot chocolate to their clients. But would you say that the cocoa powder does well as a hot drink, or would you say clients prefer having it as a chilled cup of chocolate?
So I guess traditionally a hot drink is what people go to. We find our numbers increase significantly in the colder months in winter, and so that is the recognition, chocolate being comforting and warm and very satisfying. We also do an iced version with the same cocoa paste. That's crushed ice or poured over ice, depending on how it's made, and that's very refreshing, a summer drink, but again still tastes like chocolate. And then of course we do infusions as a chocolatino or mocha with coffee, because a lot of people still really they love
the taste of coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Rishabh, I'm waiting to have a look at how you demoed your chocolate paste, because we're so used to the traditional chocolate powder. So I'll leave it to you, and our viewers could get to enjoy watching that.
Yeah, so being at a coffee shop, we have the benefit of having a coffee machine, which allows us to heat up our mug or cup, and of course steam and texture the milk. And so at home you may not have those things, and we recommend our product being made on a stove to do it the authentic way. Traditionally that's how cocoa is made. Otherwise a microwave will do the same, more or less the same job. So from a presentation point of view, it's a little bit of the paste. As you can see, it's very easy to work with, soft, around the rim of the cup. And this does two things. It's firstly aesthetic, very, very attractive, and also means that you have a taste of the paste on your lips when you're drinking it, which is I guess more enjoyable.
I'm sure.
Okay, so for a cup of this size, recommend a heaped tablespoon of the paste, and we just drop that into your cup. It's not really a problem if you mess. Tastes good. A little bit of milk, and the idea here is that the milk is nice and hot, and the paste is soft, so it's designed to dissolve.
So you don't add any hot water, it's just steamed milk?
It's just steamed milk, yes. So stir that up. It's pretty instant, but we know that our product is meant to be made on a
Smells
stove.
divine.
Okay, so from here you've got a thick chocolate sauce, and this you can use and pour it over ice and milk and make a cold drink,
Okay.
or as we're going to do now, make a hot drink. And
That's it.
how we make our traditional hot cocoa.
So Rishabh, you've mentioned something rather interesting where, yes, we're at a coffee shop and we have the liberty of heating up the cup, but at home you'd like viewers or someone at home to prepare it on the stove, which means that your product is open to the public and not exclusive to coffee shops?
Yes, so we do retail jars of our cocoa paste here at Mark Gold.
Okay.
And we'd love for people to work with it and use their creativity and their imagination in any way they wish. Traditionally, though, cocoa is made on the stove, and that's when the flavors come together because it thickens and it boils. And we found that when you make it that way, it's so much more immersive in terms of an experience.
And pretty much authentic, having something on the stove.
Correct.
Okay, so Rishabh, with other young entrepreneurs that are looking to create something, or many of us have these ideas and we're very apprehensive to sort of explore, or maybe some of us don't feel as confident, what advice can you give upcoming entrepreneurs?
So, very important is to believe in yourself, especially if you're different. We get so caught up in trying to fit the norm.
Yes.
Whatever we see that's popular in society, and we want to be that. But when I was a kid, I was very very expressive. I used to take part in all the plays in school. I used to rap on stage, and it was my parents are very fortunate then that they allowed me to explore those aspects of being a youngster and trying to create my own identity. I think for young entrepreneurs, they have to be passionate about what they do. We always hear this word passion, and we're told that if you're passionate about what you do, you'd never work a day in your life.
Sure.
And to be honest, that's not really accurate.
Okay.
Because if you just follow the passion, you can become stuck and feel like you want to give up, because you don't always get the remuneration for your passion.
Talking about giving up, did you at any point, you've tried and failed, did you at any point think this is it and I need to give up?
Yes, there were a few times.
Okay.
It's the realities of life. You need to pay your way through the work, and a business like this, or any new business, doesn't really make money in the beginning. It's really about how hard you push it. You have to be fearless. You have to be a little bit naive as well. And then you just gotta once you find something you believe in and something that you're passionate about, don't stop. Just keep going. Power through. You're gonna have many hurdles in front of you, and they'll always be there.
So Rishabh, for those viewers that want to indulge in the perfect cup of hot chocolate, how would we know which coffee shops to go to that would serve Inca hot chocolate?
Okay, so you can follow us on, of course, the social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook. Our handle is Inca Cocoa, and our website is incacoco.co.za and .com. You'll be able to find out which coffee shops and restaurants stock our product, and each one of them have a unique spin on it as well.
Okay.
And that they add their signature to it.
All right. And just before we wrap up our show today, being the young entrepreneur, the energetic individual that's actually come up with this an amazing cup of hot chocolate, what tips would you like to share with our viewers, or what would you like to, what encouraging words could we leave them with before we part today?
I think I've been very fortunate in that I have the support of my family. and not just my parents but extended family as well, uncles and aunts and cousins. They've worked at events, they've put on aprons, and I think that's the important thing. You're never alone. There are always people that believe in you. There are people that will always want you to succeed. And sometimes, no matter what the hurdles are in front of you, if your cup is full, you got love, you got support, you got trust. You can do anything you want. I mean, we live in Durban. We're essentially a summer city. We have perfect weather. But here we are with the chocolate beverage that's well suited to cold environments. Yeah, okay. And it's working.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, and that was very insightful on how you've created the perfect cup of hot chocolate. And I look forward to having a cup of your hot chocolate.
Nush and Modern and Modest team, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a real pleasure, and I'd also want to thank the Mark Gold family for allowing us to use the shop to showcase our product. And it's been something I really look forward to and exceeded all my expectations, so thank you so much.
Well, that was Rishabh Sankar from Inca, a very insightful discussion on the perfect cup of hot chocolate, and I'm definitely going to be indulging in one of Inca's hot chocolates pretty soon. And it just makes us feel so proud and so excited to have a young entrepreneur that's actually come up with something so unique, and that's here from Durban. So next time you're in Durban, be sure to have a taste of the Inca hot chocolate. And until next week, thank you for joining in, and we look forward to chatting soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.